hot. Speaking of hot, they'll be in Vegas on Friday for the Summer League. Marvin Bagley and company, they're playing in Sacramento and Utah. What you're about to see from last night must be the Pumas. Must be the shoes for Jordan. Must be the Pumas. For Marvin Bagley, the third, the second overall pick. And that flush, second to none. Nice start for the kid. Now, his old college teammate, Grayson Allen, at Duke, 21st overall pick. He's going to play for Quinn Snyder in Utah. And remember, Snyder played for Coach K at Duke as well. We certainly know Grayson can shoot. You know who else was there to offer a little moral support? The face of the team. Oh, look, Donovan Mitchell in the house. Allen struggled shooting. He's the 21st overall pick. He gives them some length for sure. Speaking of length, Jaren Jackson Jr., 4th overall pick. He played like 21 minutes a game at Michigan State. People just didn't know what kind of player he was going to be. Gigantic upside, super young, and showing a part of his game not a lot of people thought he had. 29 points, 8 from downtown for a guy that's 6'11". And speaking of a guy that should be able to connect from downtown, anything but for Trae Young. Struggled just a little bit, or maybe quite a bit. 4 for 20. In his Summer League debut, he took 11 threes, hit one of them, had 3 dimes, but he did say after the game it's all about a process. It's not a big deal. I'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to go tonight. In fact, we'll see how he bounces back. They're going to tip off on ESPN Plus in 41 minutes as the Hawks will get ready to take on the Spurs Summer League squad. Again, you can see that on our new streaming service, ESPN Plus, at the top of the hour. That's where Trae will be hooping again in Salt Lake City. We're joined by our Kevin Arnovitz, who covers the NBA from ESPN courtside. So the Hawks general manager, a guy by the name of Travis Schlenk, came over from Golden State, where he learned a little something about how to build the team. You tell me, Kev, how does that mentality fit into having Trae Young around?
Yeah, I was talking to Schlenk this afternoon, and he said, it's funny. People see this little guard pulling up from 35 feet and they think Steph Curry. But actually what we really love about him is his playmaking. He's a guy who can run an offense, who can hurt teams in the pick and roll, who can find the right shot for the right guy at the right time. We're not going to worry about the performance. And kind of listening to him talk, it makes you think, is the best case scenario for Trae Young Steph Curry, or is it more like Chris Paul?
Well, I guess either one of those two wouldn't be bad. If you're known as the next Chris Paul, the next Steph Curry, they certainly have got themselves a gem in Trae Young. Before I let you go, got to ask you here, what has been the reaction from the executives and the scouts that are gathered in Utah that you're talking to about this whole DeMarcus Cousins to the Warriors situation?
Yeah, there was a lot of buzz that overcame the lower bowl where a lot of the scouts and execs sit when that deal went down last night. It's funny. One exec said, it's actually for all the drama. They're having a lot of surprises. LeBron ends up in L.A. Paul George returns. Chris Paul returns. Kevin Durant returns. This is the first real shocker. They also said something interesting. It says more about the league than it actually does DeMarcus Cousins. This is a league right now that is really risk-averse, particularly with a big man committing a long-term contract to a guy coming off of a really devastating injury. Nobody wanted to pull the trigger.
Yep, except for the Warriors. And considering Bob Myers, the Warriors GM, was shocked himself, I could only imagine all of his contemporaries in the league were just as shocked. And Kev was talking to some of them.
The bottom, the balance of power really shifting out west. Several big-name players making the splash early on in NBA free agency, although he initially declined his player option with the Thunder. Paul George agreeing to a 4-year, $137 million max with Oklahoma City. In his first season with the Thunder, George averaged career highs in three-point field goals and steals. And then there is Chris Paul, also staying put, agreeing to a 4-year, $160 million max contract with the Rockets, the 6th largest contract in terms of total value in NBA history. Paul has missed 46 games over the last 2 seasons due to injury. He'll be 36 years old in the last year of his contract. The LeBron era in Cleveland is over as the King, agreeing to a 4-year, $153 million contract to join the Lakers on Sunday. LeBron will look to bring Los Angeles back to glory after a franchise record 5 straight seasons missing the playoffs. And just last night, DeMarcus Cousins, recovering from a torn left Achilles, agreeing to a 1-year, $5.3 million deal with the Warriors. Next season, Golden State will be the 6th team in NBA history to have 5 All-Stars from the previous season.
I bet. I'm a warrior.
That's when he found out. Stephen A. Smith joining us now. Hey, Stephen A., you knew what was coming after the news broke last night of DeMarcus Cousins signing with the Warriors. What's your reaction to those who say, man, the Warriors are ruining the NBA?
Well, I think people need to grow up, and I think people need to just stop all of this nonsense. It really gets on my damn nerves, to be quite honest with you. Listen, Boogie Cousins is not going to be available probably until April or May. He's going to have to work off the rust, and then even then, he's going to be in the Warriors lineup, and he's going to be the fourth option at best. And so when we understand that, we recognize the potency of the Golden State Warriors, but they were going to be potent with or without them. I'm not trying to say that he doesn't help them, but this is a guy that averaged 25, 13, and 5 last season, okay, as the number 1 or number 1A option. He's going to be a fourth option in Golden State. You got to take those things into consideration. And more importantly, you got to be about embracing the challenges, understanding that the Warriors, is going to be incumbent upon them to figure out what role he can play and how he can play it in their system to such a degree that he doesn't grow frustrated or turned off by what's transpiring. You could say a lot of things when nobody's picked up the phone to call you and you're looking for a contract. But once you have that contract and you're in tow and you're anxious to get out there because you're a free agent, you're going to be a free agent next summer, and you're anxious to remind everybody of the greatness that you put on display for the first 9 years of your career, if you're inhibited from doing so because 3 other individuals on the squad are bigger options than you, who knows what kind of negative impact that could have. So people need to stop whining and crying and go out there hell-bent on competing, because true champions are ones who want to knock off champions so they can validate their own greatness, as opposed to whining about the level of competition that they got to go up against.
Well, all right then. Let's go back down south to Los Angeles for a second. We've heard that LeBron is willing to be patient with the Lakers front office, but James is 33, turning 34 in December. Winning soon would be preferred, I'm sure. How satisfied are you with the Lakers roster as presently constructed?
Not very satisfied. I'm happy that they still held on to Kyle Kuzma rather than give in to the San Antonio's demands, which I have heard were Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and about 3 first-round picks. Certainly, LA would have been foolish to do that, assuming those things are true. But in the end, what it comes down to is that Rondo can ball. He elevates his level of play in the postseason, but he's no shooter. Lance Stevenson is an enigmatic individual who shows up in big moments from time to time, but I'm not dependent on him either. Don't get me started with JaVale McGee. The only thing I'm looking forward to seeing when it comes to him is Shaq and the Fool. So the bottom line is, when you look at it from that perspective, there's some huge question marks. The Lakers are on the phone presently trying to get a shooter. They were hoping to get their hands on J.J. Redick. That did not work out because he re-signed with Philadelphia. Who knows who they're going to get in tow as a shooter. The pressure's not on LeBron to win this year, because no matter who you had, you were not going to be the favorite over Golden State. But they do recognize the priority of getting Kawhi Leonard, especially since you're not going to get Paul George. They're still working on that. Who knows what's going to happen within the next 24 hours or so as it pertains to that. But they definitely need more than they have right now. So I'm not satisfied.
Stephen A. Smith, breaking it down. My man, appreciate you.
No doubt.
Enes Kanter is more upset than Stephen A. on the Warriors' crybabies on what's going on. Check this out on Twitter, saying that the commish agreed to a mid-level extension with Golden State. He also said he wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors signed Thanos and John Wick to their bench for 1 year. But I don't think Keanu Reeves' shooting is good enough to join this particular Warriors team. Let's be honest, the collective group of basketball fans on social media, I know you guys call yourselves NBA Twitter. Don't be fooled. This is NBA Twitter. Adrian is here. Let's start with everything that's happened in free agency, starting with the Australian Dante Exum.
Yeah, I'm just reporting now. Dante Exum has agreed to a 3-year, $33 million extension with Utah. He's still only 22 years old. He was a 5th overall pick in 2014, fought through injuries early in his Jazz career, but tremendous potential. That organization really still believes in his future. Tyreke Evans, a 1-year, $12 million deal. Sources tell me to go to the Pacers. Flew in there today. He'll join Doug McDermott in their free agent class. Michael Carter-Williams, a 1-year deal to go to the Houston Rockets, play off their bench behind Chris Paul, James Harden. And the Nuggets have traded Wilson Chandler and his $12.8 million deal, a second-round pick, to Philadelphia into their cap space. Denver looking to get out of the luxury tax, and now they're going to re-sign Will Barton. And now Wilson Chandler goes to the Sixers. You know, good two-way player. He can help that team, or they can flip him in a trade. And they've been talking with the Spurs, although that has not gotten a lot of traction, sources tell me. because they have not shown a willingness to put any of their 3 top players in the deal. Now, Embiid and Ben Simmons aren't going to be in the deal, but Markelle Fultz has not been in. And when you've got a top 3 or 4 player in the world and the team won't put any of its top 3 guys in, you could do the math. That's not a deal that's working.
And that top 3 player in the world, of course, we know is Kawhi Leonard. When healthy, the offensive and defensive prowess he brings. So what is the latest on him right now?
Well, teams around the league, the Spurs aren't getting, this is not a bidding war going on. There's concerns about Kawhi Leonard. Teams don't know the medical, the quad injury. They don't know how he's going to return from it. And they know that he wants to play in Los Angeles. And so there's lots of reasons for you to be cautious with how much you're going to offer. Boston has talked to him. Philadelphia has talked. The Clippers have tried. Denver's checked in. The Lakers have been, so far, pretty staunch in keeping some of their young players out of trade talks. Yeah. So right now, the Spurs are willing to do a deal if the right one comes up. They're also willing to play it out with Kawhi Leonard. They can still offer him that $219 million supermax, but the relationship between he and the team, that's remained extremely poor. It's unchanged. There's been no coming together since that brief meeting between Popovich and Kawhi in L.A. or in Southern California a few weeks ago.
And we should mention Southern California. It's not just the lure of the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard went to King High School in Riverside. He's a SoCal kid, so if this happens, it could be a bit of a homecoming. And, of course, we know Woj will stay on top of everything. You know what happened right after we got off the air last night with Boogie Cousins. Adrian, thank you very much. The notable free agents remaining that he will be keeping an eye on: Clint Capella and Marcus Smart are obviously fixtures on their team. Jabari Parker was the 2nd overall pick in his NBA draft. All these guys, though, are restricted. Obviously a huge qualifier when we're talking about unrestricted free agents like we have the last 24 to 48 hours. We all know the drill. Though he will remain a part of the city's sports legacy, even though this may not. The weather is hampering the efforts to bring this iconic image down in Cleveland. Maybe it's apropos, though, because even though LeBron is gone, his aura will always remain in his hometown. So the path to a 9th straight finals for LeBron runs through the Warriors, as we know, who are the overwhelming favorites to win the Western Conference. But first things first for the purple and gold. The Lakers have missed the playoffs in a record-setting 5 straight seasons. Now LeBron's in the fold, so that's got to come to an end, right? Right? Hang on a second. Our NBA insider Brian Windhorst is here. With the way the West is changing rapidly, plus its already formidable strength, where do the Lakers fit in here, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, look, any team with LeBron Zubin has a great chance to be competitive in any situation. Having said that, at this point, and we're only on July 3rd, but at this point, I don't think that the Lakers are a lock to make the playoffs. Now, they're going to really be looking at a pretty different style of play here. With the players that they're signing, what it looks to me like is LeBron James is going to move off the ball, and they're going to play with more interchangeable defenders on the perimeter, where LeBron is more the guy that's getting set up than the set-up man, as opposed to the spread-the-court offense. So to me, they're going to have a lot of adjustments. They have sort of 2 teams, a really young team and now a veteran team. And let's just assume, for example, that the Spurs don't trade Kawhi Leonard to anybody. That's a pretty good team. You saw those teams that were listed on there. In my mind, I know the Lakers are getting money to win the championship, but you look at the Thunder, you look at the Jazz, you look the Timberwolves, you even look at the Nuggets, you look at the Trailblazers, you look at the Pelicans. These are all teams that, from a talent standpoint, are right there at the Lakers level, or maybe even a little bit ahead of the Lakers at this point.
No question. Let's go back to LeBron's old home, the Eastern Conference. We should probably talk about the East for at least a second, but maybe not more than a second. The Kings' departure opens the door out East, according to Charles Barkley, for this team. Take a listen.
The Boston Celtics are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference for the next 10 years. They think about it. They took them to 7 games without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. So the Cavs were done anyway if LeBron stayed there. It's all about the Boston Celtics now.
It makes a lot of sense, no question, with what he said. So you tell me, with everybody wheeling and dealing and you're all over it, like, what's the Celtics' plans right now?
With long-term analysis like that, maybe Charles is one of those folks who's putting the money down on the Lakers to win the championship. I think the Celtics are actually kind of like the Warriors. They're in a tremendous position to be opportunistic. The Warriors waited and saw an opportunity with Boogie Cousins. The Celtics are getting two fantastic players back, two all-stars in Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving. Just watch for them to be opportunistic. They still have some money that they can spend in free agency, and there's some guys out there that are not going to get paid that may slip through the market, and they're going to sit back on the Kawhi Leonard talks. If the Kawhi ever becomes available and it gets to be a leveraged position where the Spurs lose the high ground and have to let him go for maybe less than premium, watch for the Celtics to swoop in there. They're under no pressure to do fast. As Charles mentioned, I agree, they are in pole position from a talent standpoint.
Yeah. Danny Ainge, Trader Danny, has been very quiet, but those that follow the league know what happens next normally. Something huge could be on the horizon. That's a Brian Windhorst with the very latest.